What is the best race to take into phase 2 of Type Soul? Today we're going to be taking a look at all of the factions in Type Soul, and we're going to be analyzing and discussing which one of these races is the best one to take into phase 2 of Type Soul. Now, if you don't already know, phase 2 is going to have a lot of content. Just to name a few of the things that's coming during phase 2, we are going to be getting Hell, which sounds crazy to say out loud, but the Hellverse and all of the content that's going to come with that is going to be a harder and to what I would assume to be more phased towards endgame content. We're also going to be getting things like True Bankai, which I'm looking forward to seeing very much, and we're going to be getting the holy slaves for the Quincy's, whatever that entails. And the Arrancars already have Segunda, so I don't really feel like they need anything, and much more. Phase 2 of Type Soul is going to have a lot. Not to mention, Hell's going to have multiple layers. They said it's going to work something like Made in the Abyss, one of the greatest animes out to ever exist in my opinion. Much to how like Deep Woken was meant to make the layers similar or took inspiration from it from Made in the Abyss, but ended up kind of failing because they made layer 2 kind of MIDI with no room to explore further layers because of the way the devs structured it. I think Type Soul might be taking what I was looking for with layer 2 in Deep Woken and making it right, doing it good, because if they are taking inspiration from Made in the Abyss, there's going to be more than just 2 layers. Made in the Abyss has 7+. So hopefully we have 7+ in the future of Hell. Moving right past that, let's get into this. Which faction is the best to take phase 2? Now let's start this off with one of the neutral out of the 3 factions. And in some cases, some people may say one of the coolest factions between the 3. The Shinigamis, aka Soul Reapers. Now, Soul Reapers are the most squishy. However, they are some of the coolest, and before the changes to Let's, I'm not gonna lie, I would say they had the best mode, but now that's even questionable in terms of Visored, Let's, and True Vasto. Now, Shinigamis, once you get your Shikai, you're able to obtain free moves from your Shikais, and obviously you progress to the point where you defeat your Bankai and get your Bankai transformation, which changes the, or should I say alters the weapon you currently have to the Bankai version of that weapon, which consists of changing how the critical strike works, the M1ing, and also you get an additional 2 movesets. And usually your already existing moves deal more damage or change in some way, shape, or form depending on the Shikai. Now, Soul Reapers also have the true version of the Visored mode, which gives them different or 3 different boosts in their stats. It can either be a HP regen boost, it could be a defense boost, it could be an attack boost, it could be a movement speed boost, and it could be a Ryatsu regen boost. However, you only get 3 and it's randomized. Now, the HP regen variant is very trash, like terrible actually. Not very trash, terrible. So it really leaves 4 out of 5 really good options, and you can mix and match that any way you see fit if you have variant rerolls. Now, out of the 3 races, the Shinigamis are probably the most squishy, mainly because Shinigamis don't have any defensive boost like the Arrancar and Quincy counterparts. So they tend to take more damage than Quincy's and Arrancars, but they have more moves to play with than Quincy's and Arrancars because their Shikais give them free moves. Unless you get a partial essence for your Arrancar, you're stuck with 2 moves, same with Quincy's. Now, most people would call Shinigami's glass cannon because they don't have that much defense and slash health, but they deal a good amount of damage. However, I don't think that's true because Quincy's and Arrancars deal that much damage, if not more, as well. Then again, everything does come down to skill. However, if I had to put Shinigamis on the board, I'm not gonna lie, I would place them right in the middle. Not overpowered, not underpowered, literally just right. Right now, they are not the best race. However, they are going to be getting a lot of content during phase 2, so I do think you guys should hold on to your Shinigami slots and look forward to the future. That's why I'm going to be placing Shinigamis here on the list. Next, let's talk about Arrancars. Please don't run off with my car.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Was that a bad joke? I'm so sorry. Let's move on. Now, Arrancars, ever since old type Soul, have been the king of the hill. They have Hierio, which gives them defense, extra defense. And let's not even mention the true Vastacar versions, where they have 3 different variants. In the past, the dodge variant, or should I say the speed variant, used to give them 2 dodges until people found out, yo, this is kind of overtuned, and dropped it down to 1. So when you use your dodge, you have about 30 seconds, and then you get your dodge back. Or if you use your Cero, your Vasto Cero, you get your dodge back immediately. However, the Ceros are pretty easy to predict, or just block, or parry, or dodge. So we're not going to count the Ceros to reset the passive. And then recently, they completely gutted the dodge variant by making it 60 seconds. Oh my gosh, what were they thinking? Which just completely knocks the speed variant off the map. However, that's okay, because there are 2 other variants, HP regen and defense, which gave bonus Hierio. When you hit or use a skill on opponent, your Hierio goes up by 1, and you deal an extra 10% more damage. Now, speaking of the defense variant, it was the worst out of the 2 for a very long time. The reason for this is because it didn't work. The Hierio version, the defense version, didn't actually work as intended for a very long time. And people were skeptical, but this YouTuber in specific tested it out in theory properly and proved that, hey, this does not work as intended. Literally, you get basically no defensive buff, and you basically don't get your 10% extra damage. Now, recently, I think this was just last week, if not a week and a half ago, I don't think it's been a full 2 weeks yet, they changed it. They fixed the defensive version of Vasto. Finally, honestly. But even then, it still just wasn't better than HP regen. Now, if you don't know, HP regen for Vastos on base was pretty good. It regen way faster than the HP regen variant for Vizards, and the more people around, so if you're in a big team fight, or just there's a lot of people around in general, your HP regen would go up by more. It's like siphoning energy from the people around you, or some spirit bomb stuff. However, again, I think about last week, they nerfed HP regen. As in, it started to go up slower. Your HP regen was slower. The percentage healed was slower over time. And then, just a couple of days ago, they decided, hey, we're gonna just completely wipe HP regen off the map. What do you mean by this, Ags? I mean, in ranked, in 2v2s, 1v1s as well, HP regen just doesn't exist. They disabled it. So, what's the point of you progressing your Arrancar slot to true if 2 of the 3 variants are almost completely useless? The answer to that is I have no idea. That's not balanced. It's not even gutting. It's just completely disabling something you progressed for, which doesn't actually make any sense to me. On top of that, even the new Arrancar weapons that have been added to the game, most of them have been completely gutted. Calibur's crit doesn't block break, the M1s are slower, and it deals less damage than it did before. Hollow Burden is arguably very mid, the hitbox for the crit is very inconsistent, and you can completely counter the second part of the crit. And all the other weapons are just kind of okay. In terms of relating it to the Quincy and Soul Reaper weapons, Arrancar weapons are the bottom of the barrel. On top of that, 2 of the 3 variants you get from progressing to true Vasto are useless, essentially. Arrancars aren't what they used to be. A couple of weeks ago, people were saying they're overtuned, and now people aren't even using the Arrancar slots anymore. It's a weird place to be in. For the massive changes that have been done in such a short amount of time, that is why I'm going to be placing Arrancars at the bottom. Right now, they're just not in the best place. Yes, you can argue segundas are broken, especially for Light, Storm, and Stark. However, not all the segundas are even in the game yet, and there are better alternatives in terms of factions, weapons, and true variants. I'm so sorry. Right now, Arrancars are just not it. And now we have the last faction, Quincy. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, Quincy K.
Awesome and all, how did it even make it to live servers? How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company. Fix the game! It sucks! Playing the shit! And I'm fucking addicted! So I can't quit!
Hey. Listen, no, I'm joking, that's a joke. But once upon a time, Quincy's were probably the most hated faction. And if you compare it to now, they might be one of the most used faction. Now, there's a lot leading up to that. But let's just say Quincy's are getting shown a lot of love. Now, if you rewind back to release, Quincy's were broken. True Let's was great. Even normal Let's was very decent in terms of just being able to zone, pressure, and straight murder people. The Quincy arrows in every way, shape, and form were just broken. Quincy Keto was a lifestyle. Arrows were able to just completely overwhelm almost everyone, no matter what build. Until the community had enough, complained enough to the point where Quincy Let's got gutted. In fact, Quincy Keto got gutted, unless you had True Let's. Now they changed up Let's, gave it different variants. For a while there was an arrow variant, blah blah blah, but that got changed or completely taken out, and Quincy's where it's at now, skipping all the formalities and detailed explanations. Quincy's got nerfed, but if you have True Let's, you are in the building. Also, Quincy Keto is in a place where whatever nerfs were done to it are irrelevant because it's still overwhelmingly powerful. In the right hands, that is. Now, there was an update recently that gave Quincy's the best weapon in the game, hands down. I don't know how to pronounce it. However, it has good M1 range, it has a good M1 speed, it does good M1 damage, and it has the best critical in the game, period. Now, I'm not saying this because I want it to get nerfed, gutted, or whatever the balance team decides to do, because balance team is very questionable right now. I honestly think this weapon should stay as it is. Yes, it can be annoying to deal with. It is literally great. This weapon in all areas is perfect. But paired with balance and Quincy Keto, it's almost an unstoppable force in the right hands. Along with that, Quincy's just recently got the cybernetic box that enhances their kit even more. Honestly, Quincy's are damn near unstoppable right now. Not to mention, they're a little bit more tanky than Soul Reapers are, and with Blunt Vein and the other Blunt variant that you can change it to by pressing the U button that deals more damage, Quincy's are the most well-rounded out of everything. However, I will say, in my opinion, the only true Quincy variant that's good is the boost variant. That increases your damage, defense, reactor regen, and speed. Boost is literally the better version of Visor. And then there are two other variants that I really just don't care about. There's the defense variant that gives you more Blunt Vein, and there is a reactor siphon variant. Who honestly cares? However, Quincy's is in a magnificent place. They have the best weapons in the game compared to Soul Reaper and Arrancar. They're more tanky than Soul Reapers, and with Quincy Keto, well, let's just say it is a force to be reckoned with. Now, do I think you need to tone down Quincy's? No. Quincy's are in a really good place in my opinion. Quincy Keto is annoying to deal with, but I'd rather deal with Quincy Keto than any form of Hakuda all around the board. I'm not gonna lie to you. Hakuda is overtuned. Very overtuned, and I'm not joking. However, just based off of everything I've said, in my opinion, I'm putting Quincy's at the best, on top, above Arrancar and definitely above Soul Reaper. Should I mix that around? Definitely above Arrancar and above Soul Reaper. Quincy's are in a magnificent spot. If you are a Quincy main, you're eating very good. Now, what could be done to make the other races even stronger? For Arrancars, give them a good weapon. Hollow's Burden is terrible. Caliber got gutted, and fans are actually not bad, but they're it's a bit 50-50. Arrancars really just don't have any good weapons to play with, in my opinion. They have the biggest variety, but it's just not that great of an option. Soul Reapers really only have longsword and dagger, and even then, longsword is just the best. In terms of weapons, I don't really feel like Soul Reapers have an issue. I'm pretty sure you can utilize every single weapon with Soul Reaper, and Quincy's are just living lavish. Honestly, if you agree or disagree, let me know why in the comment section down below. Let's tune up the Arrancars a bit more, and let's give Shinigami's a little bit more as well. Let me see y'all on the next